Listen, man, everything is very good. I'm going to say congrats on this movie. I've seen it twice.
Wow.
Yeah, well, I did a long interview with John, and I wanted to make sure I could actually talk.
Sure. Well, thank you, man. It's always very, very nice to see you, mate.
Yeah, you're okay as an actor. I'll put up with you. You could continue. I'm going to make another movie.
I'm going to say that as a compliment.
Yeah, I might watch. So I know you're a fan of football. So I'm just curious, are you watching AFC Wrexham? Or no, you're not watching any British football.
No, I'm not a fan of football, especially. I'm aware of what's happening with AFC Wrexham because it's big news in Wales. And to say I know Ryan Reynolds would be a stretch, but we've met and we follow each other on Instagram, and it's an amazing, cool thing. Whilst I'm not much of a fan of football, I am a real fan of Ted Lasso, though, and obviously all those episodes have just dropped, which is what I'm going to be spending my weekend doing.
I've seen the first 2 episodes. They're what we call kind of good. I think that show's gonna be okay.
Good. That's good to hear. It really has its hooks in me, that show.
Yeah, the second episode is tremendous. But anyway, enough about Ted Lasso. Last time we spoke, I asked you if you were planning on directing, and you said there was something you were thinking about. It's been like a year, I think, or give or take. So, any other plans on directing?
No, I have just I did, since we last spoke, I did secure an option on a book. Which,
Happy Head. I'm very familiar.
Yes, I won't be directing Happy Head. But I do intend to be a very hands-on creative producer. And I think that feels like a healthy step towards the creative nucleus of sort of storytelling, if that's not a horrendously pretentious turn of phrase. And I hope that the lessons I begin learning through more active grounds up producing will equip me for an eventual step into directing. But I'm not enough of a grown-up yet. But the time will come, and I think I'll know when it's right, because it will feel like a story that I have to tell. And maybe I would start by perhaps directing shorts. That's something that I've thought about. I have a loose idea for something. And also, it has occurred to me that perhaps directing... I don't know. I shouldn't even say that, actually. That's something I should keep to myself because I'm oversharing. But yeah, I'd still love to do it.
Sure. I was going to say you could also start with an episode of television that has a format that you can sort of...
That's what I was about to say. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I figured you were going in that direction.
Yeah.
When we last spoke, it was for Blackbird, which I was a huge fan of. What has it been like watching, Paul won some awards and the show was very successful? What was it like, having something that people really, really enjoyed?
Yeah, it's amazing to be involved with anything that people are that effusively praising about is an extraordinary feeling. Paul, I, for my part, was always fairly certain that was going to happen because I had front row seats to that performance, and it's an extraordinary one. And I'm fiercely proud of him. And I just feel very secure in a job well done. And there's no better feeling than a job well done. And Dennis Lehane, who is the creator of that show and somebody that I have loved working with, has been very kind in that he has offered me the lead in his next project as well, which is something we will be embarking on later in the year. And whilst I can't say anything about it because it's, well, least of all because it's in the process of being created, it's a completely different role for me and a very fresh challenge. And I think in some respects, I think it could feel like a kind of sister piece to Blackbird, which is cool. So I'm very excited about that too. It's been an amazing journey, Blackbird, and it goes on. Paul and I were recently celebrating the show at the SAG Awards where we were both nominated, and it's just amazing when something takes on a life that sustains that long, and yeah, it's really, really great. People have really seemed to have enjoyed it.
Matthew Vaughn has literally changed your life and been part of some of a lot of roles for you. What do you actually get him as a gift, like at Christmas?
Well, I try and not be bad in the films he puts me in is the main thing. The thing about Matthew as well, I mean, I don't know if you know this, Matthew is a phenomenally wealthy man. So he's one of those people you can't really buy gifts for, but he was 50 last year, and I didn't know what to get him, and I got him a framed set still from about 10 years ago, or just under 10, well, about 9 years ago, in fact. And it was the scene in the first Kingsman where I am strapped to the track in one of the Kingsman test exercises, and he stood over me in a parka directing me, but he's directing me in quite an emphatic way, so it kind of looks like he's villainously lording it over me as I'm tied to a train track. So I got him that for his 50th. I think when somebody, you try and buy a gift for somebody who has everything, the best thing to do is try and tap into some sort of sense of sentiment, I think. So that's what I did.
I know Matthew, and I also know he likes whiskey. And the problem is, what do you buy?
I ain't buying a bottle of whiskey that Matthew's going to enjoy. I do fine, but I ain't spending that kind of bill on.
I have a story for you at another, not on camera. So jumping into Tetris, this is such a effing crazy story, and I think that even if you read Wikipedia, you won't think this is true, but it all is. For people that don't realize, this is a wild, crazy, true story. How much? And I know it's so generic, but how much did you know, and how much were you surprised it was actually real?
Well, yeah, that was the first. I mean, I didn't know any of it, and that was the thing that I was most concerned with when Matthew first sent me the script. Was I wanted to know what was fact and what was fiction, and approximately 40% more of it was fact than I thought it would be. The biggest embellishment is probably the last scene of the movie, where there is a kind of quite high octane chase. But in terms of the machinations of these separate factions trying to win rights in a very volatile place at a time of particular political unrest, is all true, even down to the fact that Henk, Robert Stein, and Maxwell the younger, Kevin Maxwell, all turned up at a lorg on the same day is true. So, yeah, I mean, if you were to put a crude percentage on it, I think 85-95% of it is true.
Yeah, John was saying, I think, and I spoke to Alexey and Henk, and they basically said that the movie is more, I'm going to say this, it feels like it's happening much faster.
Yeah, it's more condensed, right?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. It happened over a longer period of time, but it's all, except for the car chase, it's basically true.
Yeah, and I believe even the culmination at that very significant event of the falling of the Berlin Wall, is all fairly true as well, I think. So, yeah, exactly that. For purposes of a 3-act story, things are more condensed together, but the bare bones of it is all fact. Yeah.
I know you get offered a bunch of scripts. What was it actually about this project that said, "Oh, I want to do this"?
Well, I'd just done Rocketman, and I was signed on to do Baird, and I think I felt that the role of Henk on the page was a nice counterpiece. That is my selfish motive for wanting to do it, but I just loved the story. I found it utterly compelling, and I couldn't believe it was true. And also, I knew Jon's work, and I obviously know Matthew's work, and I knew that their vision for it was going to have a sense of fun and kineticism that would appeal to that kind of gamer, nostalgic audience. It was divided up into chapters that would sort of crude representations of the process of engaging in a game. So start, pick a player, all of that stuff. And I just thought it felt poppy and fresh and fun and would find a really solid audience. And so I hope that's what happens.
You get to wear that mustache in the movie.
Yeah.
When you wore that, like I can see that reaction. When you wore that mustache, did you leave set at all wearing that? And did you get to be anonymous, or people still knew who you were?
No, I was insistent on doing that because, I don't grow a very strong mustache, so I had to wear a fake one. But when I did Eddie the Eagle, I wore one for a few scenes, and it got to the point, even over what was probably only about 3 weeks of wearing it, that I would arrive on set in a perfectly chipper, happy mood, put on that mustache, and instantly become an unpleasant person to be around because it's fucking awful. It really is awful. Toby Jones said to me on set, he said, I can't believe you're doing that. I've done it myself. It's the worst thing in the world. And it's look, first world problems, but it's just very uncomfortable and itchy. And there's just something about having something in the front middle of your face that really puts you in a bad mood. So I can't believe that in the years between Eddie the Eagle and Tetris, which was probably about 5 or 6 years in terms of production dates, that I forgot how uncomfortable it is and deigned to wear one for an entire shoot. You know, I cannot forget the discomfort of it again because it was pretty horrendous. But it's a strong look, and it's how Henk looked, and I wanted to create his look. And, I had to have a little bit of help above and beyond what nature gave me,
I'm glad you wore it, and I'm just because it makes you look the character.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's funny is you say all this now, but down the road, someone's going to offer you a role where you have to wear facial hair again, and you're going to say, yeah, I'll do that. And
the thing is, it's sort of fine all around here, under here, but it's just there. It's quite weak. But unfortunately, sometimes that's the bit you need, and that was the case with Henk,
No, completely. I found it was so interesting that you filmed this movie in Scotland, and I believe wrote this down, Aberdeen, which had the architecture for Russia. I don't think they've made movies in these places. So what was it like filming where people are not used to watching a movie like this?
Well, Aberdeen, I think, is somewhere that I don't know what's been filmed there in the past, but it certainly didn't feel like it was a common occurrence, and people were very excited we were there. Jon, the director, is also from Aberdeen, so that added a certain sort of sense of fun to the proceedings. But to be honest, this was at the end of 2020. I'd been sat in my apartment between the months of March and August, September. So it was just very, very exhilarating and exciting to be back making a movie. And yeah, it was great being in Scotland. It's a terrific place with amazing people. And even in the midst of a COVID lockdown, I just had an incredible time in both Glasgow and Aberdeen, just wandering around and getting familiar with those towns.
Matthew told me that he is hard at work on a number of things, but Kingsman is a part of it.
Yeah.
So have you spoken to him about another one? Is it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what I should say really.
Be careful with what you say, but tell me what you can.
Yeah. I have an idea for Kingsman. I have my own idea that I would like to pitch to Matthew, and I think that will be happening soon. But he has the wheels in motion on a big idea of his own. So who knows? Who knows where it will land? But he has every intention of making it.
Oh,
and
sure.
And I have every intention of playing Eggsy one more time. That was always what I thought I was committed to doing. It's the role that made my name. So I suppose in a way, I just want it to be absolutely right if we do it again. And I want the story to be, to do justice to the part that really changed my life. And I want it to be a fitting ending. So, and I would obviously really hope that Colin would come back for at least a part of it. And who knows, we'll have to see, but we are planning to talk about it actually the next time we see one another. So who knows, watch this space. But, he's certainly not backing off the idea.
Oh yeah, I am well aware, and also with the whole kick-ass thing, he has a lot going on. Well, Anyway, on that note, listen, congrats on Tetris.
Thanks,
always
man.
Great talking with you.
Likewise.
I wish you nothing but the best.
Cheers, mate. It's always really lovely to see you. Thank you.